In a trade deadline where the Mets have a team full of needs at multiple positions, both offensively and on the pitching side of things, we are discussing in this very video my number one trade target for the New York Mets at this upcoming deadline. Before we fully get into this video, please smash those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel, and if you don't agree with the name that we're talking about in this video being the number one trade target upcoming for David Stearns and the Mets, comment down below who your number one trade target is. I'm very curious from you all what you have to say. And without further ado, we travel to an organization that has their fan base riled up, booing them consistently, saying to sell the team, and they have multiple pieces, both rentals and with controllability to offer for contending teams around the league, and that is none other than the Pittsburgh Pirates. David Bednar, who just recently had an outing, his 21st consecutive outing without giving up a single run. That is absolutely tremendous. And this comes in a 2025 season where he came out of the gates in April struggling. And at one point in the month of April of this very season, he was sent down and optioned to AAA. But since coming back from his demotion, he has come back into the big leagues with a vengeance and has posted awesome numbers for the Pittsburgh Pirates and is really showcasing himself to teams around the league. And this comes at a time where David Bednar has been talked about in trades extensively, not only at this deadline, not only in the offseason, but even going back to last deadline. I mean, it seems like the New York Mets and Mets fans have been talking about David Bednar as a potential trade target with the Pirates for quite some time now. And I do think right now is the time to make this move. And this comes in a season where the Mets bullpen has been decimated by injuries, and Ryan Stanek especially is not performing up to the expectations of what one would assume he is performing to. And he's not that setup guy that we all thought he could be. Daniel Nunez is also done. He was a potential setup option for the New York Mets. AJ Minter, same thing, both losing them to season-ending injuries. David Bednar can come into this bullpen and set up Edwin Diaz for the long haul. And let's go ahead and take a look at David Bednar's trade outlook, because the great thing about this, and we'll get into the trade package here in just a second, I have two prospects in the Mets organization going back to Pittsburgh in this potential deal. You're not getting a rental player in David Bednar who's posting great numbers. You can see a 2.31 ERA, 1.11 in the walks and hits per innings pitch category in just around 35 innings. He has closing ability, so this guy can go ahead and close a ball game out for you if Edwin Diaz is unavailable, as we've seen many other times this season where Mendoza is forced to close out a ball game with Ryan Stanek, and it gets a little bit murky with some base runners that Ryan Stanek inevitably gives up. We've seen it recently. Although Stanek has been better, to his credit, David Bednar is a lot more of a solidified option to close out ball games in that role. He's got 15 saves this season, a 33.8 strikeout rate, which is way above what he posted last season, in which it was a struggle-filled 2024 season, which is why the Pirates ultimately held on to him. They didn't want to sell low on him, and he lowered the walk rate, tremendously from 10.7 all the way down to 7% this season, which is below league average. He's working with a 3-pitch arsenal, as this potential setup slash closer hybrid reliever for any team to pursue. Four-seam fastball predominantly. He does have a really good curveball, which he gets a lot of swing and miss with. And to keep hitters off balance, he does use a splitter as his tertiary pitch. And in a season full of production, it's been a night and day difference with David Bednar over the past two seasons. And you see the discrepancy here between these two numbers in both red and green text. And I really do think that the Pirates were hoping for this to happen, this bounce back to happen, so they could sell high on a guy like Bednar at this trade deadline if they decide to move him. And that's because at 30 years old, in the prime of his career, David Bednar is still in the last phase of arbitration for the 2026 season. and he would not be a free agent until after the next season. So this is not a rental player, which means that you're going to have to send presumably a top 10 prospect plus to get a guy of this caliber in your bullpen if you're a contending team. So what could a trade package for Bednar look like this trade deadline from David Stearns and the New York Mets? Again, I mentioned the controllability. I mentioned the statistics. Even though he did get optioned earlier this year, he has come back in a major way. And this is my proposed trade package for David Bednar and the two names that would be going back in the Mets farm system. Now, keep in mind that the MLB prospect rankings for each organization, the midseason rankings, just got released a little bit ago, and that differs drastically than their preseason rankings going into this season. So things have switched around a little bit. New names are in the Mets top 10, and some familiar names that were in the top 10 have been dropped out of the top 10, just like Drew Gilbert. Now, there's going to be a lot of competition, and that's the one thing. Given the controllability of David Bednar and the contract, you'll have him for the next season as well before unrestricted free agency. That's going to drive the price up, but also the competing forces of a team like the Yankees, who are also going to be in on David Bednar, as well as a handful of other teams, is also going to drive up the price for the New York Mets. And that is going to be league-wide with multiple players, not only David Bednar. There is a scenario, and the Yankees will be in on this scenario as well, I'm sure. Maybe the Blue Jays as well. A trade package deal. Since the Pirates have multiple controllable pieces to part ways with, the other big name is Mitch Keller. I do think that there is a possibility of acquiring Bednar in a package deal with Mitch Keller, which you would have to add on more prospects or more MLB ready talent in that scenario. But for right now, in this video, for these purposes, it's David Bednar for these two prospects. And I think that this is a very fair deal. Jesus Baez, number 8th overall prospect for the Mets, got promoted to high A ball where he has 9 home runs. He has elite power at this point of his career, and he's a little bit further away, only being in high A ball, whereas Drew Gilbert is a little bit closer to being ready in any organization, let alone the New York Mets. But the Mets do have outfielding options outside of Drew Gilbert that are also almost MLB ready. Carson Bench is rising through the ranks drastically. Nick Morabito is also posting really good numbers. I think he comes in at number 15 in this Mets farm system. He's in Double-A posting good numbers. And we all know the number one prospect, according to MLB.com, in their latest rankings is still Jet Williams, who is a middle infielder but has been playing a lot of center field. So the Mets have outfielding options outside of Drew Gilbert, and I know that a lot of Mets fans are really big fans of Drew Gilbert, as am I, ever since he came into this organization in that 2023 trade deadline. But the Mets do have other options, and if this is something the Pirates would be interested in, if this is something they would be willing to accept, especially, with Jesus Baez being a preliminary option there in the future at third base, with Ke'Bryan Hayes potentially getting dealt as well, this is something that I think fits the needs and the mold of what the Pirates are trying to do: get younger, build a better farm system from the position player aspect, because they have a lot of young pitching as well. Even outside of Paul Skeens, Jared Jones is still in that organization. And of their top 10 prospects, they have about 4 or 5 different pitchers in their top 10. So more help from the pitching side is on the way. They're probably looking for position players. So Mets fans, let me know, would you do this deal? Do you think the Pirates accept this deal? Let me know in the comment section down below. Hit the thumbs up on this video and subscribe for more discussions like this. We are live at 5 p.m. today. I'll link the live stream as well, so you can go ahead and watch down below in the description. We are talking more Mets trade deadline talk with the recent rumors, reports, and trade targets. We'll have a full panel. It should be a great discussion. Hopefully to see you all in the live chat. Let's go Mets. Until next video or stream. Peace.